You just stay home all day, right? Tired from just cleaning? Why don't you try switching places with me and see the real struggle? Maybe I should divorce such a useless wife.
Ugh, not this again. The way my husband treats me, a homemaker, is truly exhausting. My name is Jennifer. I'm a 34-year-old woman. I married David, my coworker, 2 years ago after a workplace romance. Back then, I planned to continue working after marriage. But David said,
I'll work hard outside. You take care of the home. That's my ideal. Men work outside, women protect the home.
I naively agreed. I quit my job to become a full-time homemaker, influenced by David's perspective. I used to be easily swayed by others' opinions. Above all, I deeply loved David. So, I followed whatever he said without questioning. I guess I was blinded by love. If only I had stood my ground and not quit my job. Maybe things wouldn't have turned out this way. That's what I still believe. People think homemakers just laze around at home all day. But in reality, it's not like that. Cleaning, laundry, neighborhood meetings, they all consume more time than one might think. Doing all these tasks daily by myself is honestly tough. Employees get weekends off, but homemakers don't. So, on Sundays when David's home, I'd ask, "Hey, I'm a bit busy. Could you help clean the bathroom?" But he'd instantly get grumpy.
Seriously? I work every day to provide, and now you want me to work at home too? Who do you think provides the meals?
If I dared to say, "I appreciate your hard work during the week, but we're a team, right? Can't you help out a bit on your days off?" David would snap back.
Stop bossing me around. You think you can survive on your own, just being a homemaker? Want a divorce?
David immediately snapped.
Who do you think you are? Just because you're home all day doesn't mean you can boss me around. Want me to divorce you? Think you, just a housewife, can survive on your own?
Shockingly, he threatened divorce. I was at a loss for words. Maybe I shouldn't have reacted the way I did. From then on, every time I said something, David would end with,
"If you don't like it, let's divorce."
It felt like he was using that phrase to control me. Even though I used to work, I had retired and become a housewife. The idea of divorce that David kept bringing up was terrifying. If he really divorced me, how would I survive? What about income? Where would I live? For me, a housewife, nothing was scarier than the thought of divorce. What scared me the most was David himself. He used to be so kind. How did he change so much after we got married? Did I make a mistake in judging him? I deeply regretted marrying David. Lately, as soon as David comes home, he'd say,
"Isn't it obvious you should greet me at the door when I, the breadwinner, come home? Who do you think pays for everything here?"
Yes, David earns the money, but I take care of everything at home. We're supposed to be partners, not in a master-servant relationship. It's supposed to be an equal relationship. Yet, David seems to believe he's superior. He looks down on me, thinking he's above. At first, I thought maybe he was venting work frustrations on me, so I kept quiet. But over time, David began to act like he was always right. And every day was like this. After his lecture, David carelessly throws his suit all over the place and changes into casual clothes. I pick them up and toss them into the washing machine. This is a daily routine. Even after eating the dinner I prepared, he complains.
Is this all you can cook? I work hard for you. And this is the meal I come home to? Where's your gratitude?
I've grown tired of dealing with David's constant complaints. Despite David not earning a high salary, I manage our finances, saving for our future children, leaving little room for extra expenses. Still, I always try to prepare healthy meals, using nutritious ingredients and cutting down on salt. Yet, he still finds reasons to complain. I felt like everything I did was being negated, and my self-confidence dwindled day by day. On top of that, he demands $500 a month for his personal expenses. If I gave him that much, our finances would be in the red. At first, I used some of my savings to cover the expenses, but that wasn't sustainable. So, I tapped into my connections and started a remote job that I could do from home. Of course, I didn't tell David. You see, a while back I had mentioned, "Hey, things are a bit tight with our finances. I was thinking of getting a part-time job. Is that okay?" To which he snapped.
What? Are you saying I don't earn enough? You probably just want extra cash to splurge, right? You should just stick to taking care of the house.
Knowing David, I was sure that if I earned, he'd just take more for his personal expenses. So, I decided to work remotely without telling David. The money I earned went towards our living expenses and savings for the future. A former colleague introduced me to his remote job. I would log into the company system and handle administrative tasks, mainly settling travel expenses claimed by employees. Having experience from my previous job, the work wasn't challenging. More than that, being home all day, this remote job gave me a sense of purpose. It felt rewarding. Then, one day, after juggling remote work and household chores, I was exhausted. I decided to take a short break and lay down on the sofa. That was a mistake. I unintentionally fell asleep and was awakened by David in the evening. It was already night. Of course, dinner wasn't ready, and neither was the bathroom. David, seeing this, sighed and said,
"What were you doing all day? Lounging around? Neglecting the house? I come home and you're just napping on the sofa. Seriously, homemakers are just leeches."
Usually I wouldn't react to David's words, but that day I was tired, so I snapped back. "What's your problem? I just happened to fall asleep today. Stop making it sound like I do nothing all day." David, not expecting a retort, turned red with anger.
"You're defying me? I'm the head of this household. How dare you speak to me in that tone? If you're going to be defiant, leave this house." "Well, maybe I will. I've been waiting to take some time for myself anyway." It was a classic case of tit for tat. I quickly packed some essentials and headed to a nearby hotel. The look of shock on David's face as I left
was priceless. He'd probably never imagined I'd actually leave. In the past, I would have just been bewildered if David told me to leave. But now, things were different. After all, I had my remote job as a source of income. Being confined to the house and only doing household chores, this job became my only connection to the outside world. The feeling of being appreciated and thanked directly for my work. Seeing my efforts being rewarded with a paycheck. Having never received gratitude from David for all the housework, this job had become a significant part of my life. Thanks to my remote job, I gained confidence and strength. Maybe some time apart would be good for both of us. With that thought, I lived in the hotel for about a week. During that time, I continued my remote work from the hotel and even uncovered some fraudulent activities by an employee. Then, one day, my phone rang. It was David. I was thinking it might be time for me to return home. So I hoped this call would be the perfect opportunity. When I answered, David said,
"Hey, isn't it about time you came back? You've had some time to reflect, right?"
Who does he think needs to reflect here? Even as I was at loss for words, David continued,
"You must be missing me, right? Life must be tough without me. If you apologize, I'll let you come back home."
Such arrogance from him. Who does he think he is? So I decided to play it humble and said, "I'm really sorry. It was my fault. I miss you every day. Please let me come back home." To my surprise, he responded with such relief.
"I knew it. You can't handle life without me. Fine, come back home."
He couldn't even see through my act. I was taken aback, but decided to return home with an innocent face. When I got back, the house was a complete mess. Clothes were scattered all over the floor, with no place to step. Trash overflowed from the bin, giving off a foul smell. Dirty dishes piled up in the sink. In just a week, he managed to turn the place upside down. I was almost impressed. I thought maybe he'd have cooled off in my absence. Maybe he'd have taken care of the house. All my maybes were shattered. He probably called me back because he couldn't handle the mess anymore. Not because he missed me or felt sorry. Realizing this, I was disappointed in David. I couldn't believe it had come to this. I was once again disappointed by David's carelessness. But, in a way, I was grateful, because it gave me the push I needed to do what I had planned for David without any hesitation. For about a month, I acted as if nothing was wrong at home. I cleaned up the mess David made and followed his every command, even when he complained. Then, the day of reckoning came. I executed the plan I had prepared and waited for David to come home. I didn't prepare dinner or even the bathroom. When David came home, he was angry that I hadn't greeted him at the door or prepared dinner. I simply apologized. "I'm sorry, I was so busy today and couldn't get to it." Feeling empowered by my submissive attitude, David lashed out even more than usual, and then he said those words.
"You're just a parasite, you know. You can't earn money and can't even manage the house properly. I wonder what would happen to a woman like you if we divorced. Maybe I should just file for divorce, huh?
I had been waiting for him to say that. The word divorce that David flaunted like a badge of honor. With a smile, I replied, "You don't need to file. I've already prepared the divorce papers." David looked confused, so I showed him the actual divorce papers, already signed by me. "All you need to do is sign." David started to panic. Of course, he never expected me to agree to a divorce.
What? No. You'd be the one in trouble if we divorced, right?
Don't worry. I'll be just fine. Haven't you noticed? Look around the house. Don't you see? David looked around frantically.
Where's the TV? The fridge is gone too. What's going on?
Oh, did you forget? I brought the TV and the fridge when we moved in. So, it's only natural that I take them with me when we divorce. I had everything I bought removed by professionals.
Wait, you can't divorce me. How will you survive without my income?
See, I sighed. Don't you get it? The person handling expense claims at your company, that's me. We never met face to face, only communicated through chat or email. So you never realized. Yes, I was working remotely for my former workplace, which is David's company. The old acquaintance I mentioned was a colleague from that company. I had been hired part-time on the condition of remote work. I used my maiden name as my family name and kept my first name. At first, I thought David might find out. But that was needless worry. For me, David had long forgotten my maiden name. I'll tell you one last thing. Your expense claims were clearly off compared to others. So I looked into it. I've already reported the results to our boss. The employee misconduct I discovered while at the hotel was none other than David. While handling David's expense reports, I found several suspicious claims. Claims for travel expenses, for supposed business trips and hotel stays. But as his wife, I knew David was home on those days. David was trying to embezzle money by claiming fake business trips. He probably thought he'd gotten away with it. But as his wife, it was clear to me he hadn't actually gone on those trips. So I cross-referenced his past claims with his actions on those days and investigated all his fraudulent claims. At first, I wondered if I could somehow brush it under the rug, but after a week in the hotel and hearing David's words over the phone and seeing the state of our home, I made up my mind. I'd be the one to end things with this man. I've already reported it to our boss, and I've asked for appropriate action to be taken. Tomorrow, when David goes to work, he'll be called into the boss's office and questioned severely. He was misusing company money after all. It's only right. Thank you for everything. I'll be happy on my own. Goodbye. My belongings have already been shipped to my new place. All that's left is for me to leave this house. Leaving a stunned David behind, I walked out of the house with a spring in my step. Later on, David was dismissed from the company. Being dismissed makes it hard to find another job, and it seems David is still unemployed and attending a job support center. Of course, the house is reportedly a mess. David was reluctant to sign the divorce papers and kept asking me to come back, but I had no intention of doing so. I left all the procedures to my lawyer and finalized the divorce. As for me, I switched from remote work to full-time and fully returned to work. I'll be single for a while, but I plan to look for a new relationship soon. Of course, my criteria for a partner is someone who's willing to share both household chores and child rearing.